Hey guys, David here. It's been a while. A couple weeks I think since I made a video. Well, that's not true. I've made numerous videos, but just didn't post them for some reason. I'd make them, watch them, think he didn't say anything important or entertaining. Nothing funny. In fact, you made a few mistakes with words. So I delete it. Try again. Something else. Got a lint ball on your collar. Delete. You forgot the model of your pipe. Delete. Anyway, for some reason, which really eludes me, I just didn't publish any videos or feel like I should. But anyway, I decided today would be the day. Friday, I'm at work on my morning break, 9:30 till 9:45, and I decided to fill it up by talking with you guys. Smoking my Falcon pipe with my extendo bowl in it today. And one thing about a Falcon pipe is you can take it apart even with the bowl on. I don't have a paper filter in this, so it accumulates a little bit of moisture, which you really don't need to open and dispose of, but I just did because why not? I had the bowl off. These are great pipes, Falcons are. I have 3 different ones, straight one, semi-bent, and this curved, I guess they call it. I think the stems were like $25 each. The bowls, I think this bowl was 20, so for 45 bucks, you can have a nice little, pretty portable pipe. These are great pipes for working in your yard or do anything on the go. They're very durable. So anyway, I like them. I try to smoke my Falcons on Friday for Falcon Friday. So what have you guys been up to? It's pretty much been the same old thing for me. Just work, family, home. Trying to ride my bike a few times a week at least. Ideally 4 times, but usually end up doing about 3 times. Haven't lifted my weights for a while because of my upcoming umbilical surgery. I had to have a chest x-ray and lab work done. And I'll go to my doctor this Wednesday and get the all clear. Hopefully. I'm pretty confident that I'll get the all clear for surgery. Then I have to schedule the umbilical surgery. So we'll find out when that's going to be. Anyway, besides that, everything's been going well. Yesterday was my last smoke at home Thursday for a while because my wife Amy, she's a teacher, that was her last Thursday of work until beginning of August. So I have a couple months that I won't be smoking in my office. I'll survive. I can always go in my backyard, my back patio, if I need a quick break away from my desk on those days. I usually have my morning pipe out there anyway with my coffee and my devotions, so I'll continue to do that. Weather here is heating up. We're supposed to have a heat wave starting tomorrow, I believe, so maybe even some triple digits. Today is supposed to get up into the 90s. Right now it is 77, so still comfortable in the shade. And I'm thankful for that. I like the summer, even if it's really hot sometimes. I wouldn't like if I didn't have an air conditioning unit in my house. I don't know what our people did in the past. I guess I'm not sure. I mean, you see old pictures 100 years ago. People are in full-on suits and ties, walking around at their businesses and all that. They didn't have anything besides maybe a fan if you were lucky. I know my mom, she grew up here in the Central Valley and Bakersfield, and they didn't have anything. You just open up the windows, I guess, and hope for the best. You know, some people had big porches that they'd sleep out on, but in Bakersfield, I don't know if it matters that much, because in the evenings, you can get temperatures still in the 90s in the evenings after the sun goes down. So a porch bed wouldn't even be that refreshing, I wouldn't think, unless you had some fans going on. Funny story. When I was a kid, my friend Travis, whom I have spoken about numerous times, he lived with his grandparents for a while. And back then, most houses just had evaporative coolers. We called them swamp coolers. And in fact, we all grew up with those. We moved here to our first house with air conditioning when I was about 17 years old. We bought it. My mom and stepdad bought a new house, or a house, and it had an air conditioning unit, and I couldn't believe how cool it was. But my friend Travis, his grandparents, they would, in the afternoons, sit out on the patio, and his grandfather, step-grandfather, his name was Edward, he used to have a hose up on they had like a tin roof on their patio cover. He had a hose, and he would have that thing going and dripping water. It was like an old drip system. It was just a hose dripping, you know, water off of the roof of this tin building that they'd set under, you know, a tin cover base on the patio. So that was kind of funny. I'm not sure how well it worked, but I guess it, maybe just the sound of the dripping water was enough of a psychological event that it made you feel cooler. Who knows? My grandma and grandpa used to have a evaporative cooler, and it wasn't roof mounted because they didn't have any venting or ducting or anything. My grandpa built the house, you know, in the 40s, and they had a central dining room with outside windows, and he would put, every spring or summer, he would mount a window cooler in that window, and that's what they used, along with big box fans. I remember as a kid, after my newspaper route, during the summer, I would come home and sit in front of that at the table. It was a dining room table that you could sit at, and that was the coolest place in the house, because of course the air from the evaporative cooler was blowing on you pretty hard. And my grandpa used to tell me I was going to get pneumonia because I was sweating and all my pores were open, and it wasn't good to sit in front of that cool air. So the funny things he believed, or they used to believe and talk about. Never got pneumonia once, but it felt pretty good, and I got pretty cooled off. They lived by a lot of those old wives' tales type things, you know. My grandpa used to always also say that if you ate too much pepper, it would burn your stomach or something like that. I think he had heartburn, so I guess he assumed everyone else that ate a lot of pepper or spicy foods would suffer the same consequences. My grandpa was a good guy. He was old school, no affection whatsoever shown. I've talked about him before. He used to complain when I'd stay home from school sick. I went to their house when I was a kid. My mom worked, and my grandma always watched me, along with her little childcare nursery thing that she had. My grandpa always was pretty grouchy with me whenever I stayed home, and he'd always feel bad. I mentioned in a previous episode how he came home after being especially grouchy to me, give me a few books to read while I was recuperating from whatever illness I had. Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, and Black Beauty. I still have a couple of those books with his. He wrote in them for me. So I always remember those books. My grandpa, he passed away when I was a junior in high school. He was the first family member that passed away, but really the first person that I really knew that I remember passing away at that time. Really crazy. I remember waking up in the summer when my mom came to my bed and told me he'd passed away. That's how she woke me up, and pretty sad day. Strange. Life hasn't really been the same there, of course, at my grandparents' house since, obviously with my grandpa not there. Just my grandma and her daycare kids that she had until she couldn't watch them any longer. That neighborhood's where I have my newspaper routes and did all my trick-or-treating and all that. I still go down the streets once in a while, but of course they're pretty run down now. All the nice families that live there have since passed away years and years ago. And now it's a pretty drug-infested area, and it'll always be sad to me because that's where I spent the majority of my growing up years, my grandma's house, playing in her backyard or her front yard under big fruitless mulberry trees, which shaded the entire yard. Whoever moved into the house after my grandma passed away, we lived there for a couple of years and other people, but when they finally sold it, the people who lived there cut down those trees and instead put 2 palm trees, which is really strange. It just doesn't go with the neighborhood or the house. And the house was built in the 40s. Has the shingles all over it. My grandpa must have gotten a hold of those and thought it would be a great thing to do, but he put shingles all over the house there. A mixture of, I think, concrete and probably asbestos. Well, he put all over that house, and they were still there when we lived there in the early 90s. Remember, they were yellow and white. They looked nice. I guess a lot of houses had those in the day. I guess they were kind of a good insulator, apparently. He managed to drill through and nail through those things and didn't suffer any ill consequences because of it. But that old house will always be special. It has an alley, which I remember playing in as a kid. You don't even dare drive down those alleys anymore. They're so bad. Homeless people and drug users. I think I mentioned before when we lived there, my grandma's house, the kids were very small. We lived there for a while. We were struggling financially, and we lived there, and the only thing we had to do was pay the property taxes. We lived there for about a year, I think, but beautiful yard, big orange tree in the backyard that smelled so good in the summertime, spring with the orange blossoms. And the house had so many, good memories for me. But I remember we used to open the windows up at night so we could get some fresh air and smell those orange blossoms. And the house next door had been abandoned for a while. There's an old storage shed in the back. So one night we heard all this bumping around and noises, and we finally figured out that a homeless couple had found a nice little room for the evening right next door, probably 20 feet from our bedroom window. Crazy. Needless to say, we didn't stay there long. A couple families were there that were troublemakers, and they were all into drugs, so we called the sheriff's department one time. The sheriff deputy just told us, you guys don't really belong here. So they didn't do anything about the criminal element, but they just kind of told us we should try and find some other place to live if we wanted to have a nice life. So we did. But we first got that house, we painted the entire thing inside. It had old green carpet from the 70s that I remember pulling up, and it's funny because I remember taking naps on that carpet when I was a kid. When I had a paper out, I would come home from school, fold my newspapers, take a 15-minute power nap, and then go out on my route. But pull up that old green carpet, and it had wooden floors, like you'd expect, but they weren't meant to be. I guess they were bare for a while. When my mom was small and they lived there, they just had wooden floors, but we decided to paint the wooden floors So got the bright idea to paint it white. The entire house inside was white, and the floors I painted white. It looked really nice, really super clean. I remember when I first painted that with the lights on, it just shone like a showroom floor. And of course, you start moving furniture in, you get scrapes all over the white paint. I was a dumb kid. I didn't know really anything about it, but you could touch up the floor to make it look nice again. But I remember the dining room floor. My grandma had an old bookshelf, and it had been there forever when I was a kid. We moved it though, and the bookshelf itself had been so eaten with termites that it basically collapsed on us, and the floor underneath was also termite ridden. So I had to buy a bunch of particle board and put a subfloor in the whole thing, and then we put black and white tile on that. So it was fun. The house, you couldn't do anything wrong to it because it was so old in the first place, and we just felt the liberty to do it. So we painted all the cabinets, and my wife was into Mary Englebright at that time, and I think we got like drawer pulls and all sorts of stuff and redid the whole house. We did a lot to it. My Uncle Joel, he came in, he kind of helped us, but he was really pleased with what it looked like when we first moved in, because we had taken everything and basically turned an old house into something that looked really nice inside. I remember being able to decorate at Christmas time, and we still had my grandma's all of our old Christmas decorations. It was neat to hang the Christmas lights on the outside of the house on the nails that my grandpa had driven in there years and years ago. And she had little wreaths for every window. It was really a beautiful little place. Very simple, but just really homey, Well, that's quite a ramble. It's been 17 minutes and I have a 15-minute break, so I guess I should get back to work, guys. Thanks for listening, hanging out with me for a while, and I'll talk to y'all soon. God bless you.